Hello and welcome to another video. This is the first episode of the story, in which a favorite blonde trains like Saitama and becomes incredibly powerful. He becomes so powerful that he finds every fight boring. Let's see how Naruto survives the ninja world in his own unique way. This story is from Brown Phantom. Please support him, her. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. There's something to be said about being too strong. Once you have the ability to do anything you want, you find that you don't really want to do anything. Naruto was never what you would call smart. He didn't pick up on things as easily as the other students in his school. His teachers would often have to explain things to him in a unique way as to make it entertain him. Most of the time they failed, and so Naruto never really kept pace with his fellow students. As such, even though he was several years younger than them, Naruto would have to keep his head down as he watched his fellow classmates graduate without him. "Dad, I just want to say goodbye," a young girl with blonde hair yelled. She had the prettiest blue eyes that Naruto had ever seen. His own were blue, and much brighter, but Naruto had never found the same joy in looking at his own eyes. "No," her father responded. His eyes, blue like the young girl's, were mean. They were hard, and sharp like knives. It hurt Naruto to look into them, so he looked away. He could still hear the man, though. He wasn't that far away from where all the graduated students were being held. "That boy he's a monster." "Little Naruto?" the girl asked. Her name was Aiko. Naruto made sure to remember that her name was spelled with an AI. Little Naruto couldn't harm a fly. He can't even learn the clone technique. Naruto couldn't see the man, but he could feel the man's glare. The young blonde boy scrunched his eyes shut and tried to ignore it, like he did in the village. It was harder now, though. Aiko was there. Aiko would be able to see that he was hated. Aiko would hate him too. "I don't care what you say, Dad. I'm going to say bye to little Naruto. I'm not going to be in the academy anymore and there won't be anyone to look after him." Naruto heard the grass crunch. There was a lot of grass in the schoolyard, and the wildest of it grew near the old swing set where the blonde boy currently sat. To be honest, it wasn't a swing set so much as a wooden plank tied up with rope to a tree branch. It was the only swing on the yard, though. It was where Naruto felt he could be comfortably alone. He used to play with kids on this swing. They would stop playing when they learned the cool ninja techniques. Somehow being able to walk on walls and turn into other things was way more fun than a stupid old swing. Naruto tried to learn those techniques too. He hadn't succeeded yet. "Listen, Aiko. I told you to leave the boy alone." "You will do as I say," the father hissed. The ground near the unruly grass crunched and whined. Naruto could tell there was a scuffle going on. He didn't dare look up, though. "Dad, stop. You're hurting me." Naruto's heart hurt. His chest hurt and clenched when he heard Aiko's voice sound so afraid. She was always so happy and cheerful. Was this how she acted with her parents? Were parents like this to their children? "Hey, you leave her alone, you big jerk," a crass voice called out. Naruto recognized that voice. It was Kibun, the biggest boy in their class. Kibun had really wild hair that looked scruffy no matter how he tried to comb it. His teeth, specifically his canines, and his nails were always so sharp, his eyes were also so fierce, it always looked like he wanted to fight. Because of this he was the bully of the school. No one ever challenged him and everyone did as he said. He never told Naruto what to do, though. Kibun was always nice to Naruto. He was always nice to Aiko, too. Naruto often wondered if the two facts were related. Aiko's father grunted. "Back off, boy. I am her father. I can tell her whatever I want." "Why, you?" Kibun growled. That was another weird thing about Kibun. He growled when he was angry. He was like a dog. I ought to. You ought to what, exactly? Aiko's dad asked. There was a challenging tone in his voice, and for a second Naruto was afraid that Kibun would fight Aiko's dad. Kibun was good, and strong, but he wasn't as big as Aiko's dad. Finally, Naruto decided to look up, and was immediately relieved. He ought to do nothing, a woman responded. She looked an awful lot like Kibun, except much wilder. And bigger. Especially around the chest. She placed a hand on Kibun's head and ruffled his hair. Kibun, didn't I tell you not to mess with these Yamanaka folk? Their heads are all messed up from messing with other people's heads. Aiko's father didn't look pleased. His mouth twisted and for a second Naruto thought he looked like a demon. He closed his eyes, and then breathed in and out very slowly. Finally, after a couple seconds, Aiko's dad opened his eyes and glared at the woman behind Kibun. Insults and vulgarity from an Inuzuka. Why am I not surprised? Because all you headhunters do is spy on people. I wouldn't be surprised if you knew what color panties I were wearing right now. Knowing you savages, Aiko's father started with a sneer, you probably aren't wearing any. See? Kibun's sister chirped. Peeping perverts, the lot of you. Right on target, ace. Aiko's father gasped. He looked affronted. Shaking his head, he placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder and made to pull her away. Come, Aiko. You don't need to be in this cesspool of depravity any longer. Kibun's sister laughed. Those are an awful lot of 100 yen words for a degenerate pervert. Aiko's dad stiffened, but he didn't turn around to respond. He kept pulling Aiko away. This made Kibun's sister laugh even harder. Come on, Kibun. Let's get out of here. With that, Kibun turned to follow his sister off the school grounds. As Aiko and Kibun were pulled in opposite directions, Naruto couldn't help but notice the way they looked back at each other. Though he couldn't tell why, the way that they looked at each other made Naruto's chest hurt even more. I hope I'm on your team, Aiko. Kibun called across the school ground. Aiko didn't say anything, but she did turn around. The tears in her eyes reflected the afternoon sun, but they did nothing to dim the smile she had on her face. She nodded so hard that Naruto thought her head would fall off. Apparently that was enough for Kibun, because he flashed a toothy sharp smile and nodded back. Aiko and her father disappeared from the school grounds shortly afterwards. Seeing one of his only friends gone, Naruto had made to putting his head back down. No, wait big sis. There's someone I have to talk to first. Before he could notice, Kibun was standing before him on the swing. Normally Naruto would be able to hear the grass crunching and tell when someone was coming. This day was really weighing down on him if the loud Kibun could sneak up on him. I know you don't talk much. Kibun started. He was always so blunt. So you don't have to say nothing. I'll just talk, okay? Naruto nodded. This was standard practice between them. I never really liked you, Naruto, Kibun said. Naruto's eyes widened, but he didn't do anything else. It wasn't surprising, but typical. No one really liked him. But you always hung on to Aiko. I couldn't be her friend without being yours too. Naruto nodded. He had expected as much. He was a slow learner for school stuff, but he could read people pretty easily. They either hated you or pretended that they didn't. Or they were Aiko, but Aiko was gone now. But, over time, you grew on me. Naruto, who had been expecting to be chewed out, looked up at Kibun. Now that had surprised him. I mean, you're just a little kid, right? But everyone is always so hard on you. The big dogs in my house weren't even that hard on me when I was your age, and they were hard on everyone. Not knowing what to say, Naruto just stared. I'm not good with words, Kibun continued, so I'll just say it. I like your guts, little Naruto. I started protecting you 'cause it made Aiko happy, but after a while I just couldn't stand other people making things harder for you than they already were. Kibun then went silent. He appeared to be choosing his words carefully. Listen, I won't be here any longer, but you will be. You have to be strong. Don't let them bully you, okay? Naruto nodded. They would be bullying him just about as soon as Kibun left, but the scruffy boy didn't need to know that. I will be a strong ninja, the strongest. I'll become the Hokage, then I'll come back for you, okay? Can you wait for me? Naruto nodded. That would be a very long time. He would be kicked out of the academy if he failed again. He would probably be gone before Kibun even made it to Chunin rank. Then this isn't goodbye, okay little Naruto? Kibun held out a fist. See you later. Naruto smiled. It wasn't his real smile, but he had to fool Kibun. See you later, the blonde said. Kibun smiled and nodded. Then he was gone, and Naruto was alone on the school swing once more. He heard the remaining graduates and their parents as they whispered at him. The words didn't hurt, but they weren't nice to listen to either. With a huff, Naruto rose from his seat on the swing and walked away from the academy. There was no reason for him to be here anymore. The village hidden in the leaves was the biggest city in the Land of Fire. The Land of Fire was the biggest country in the Elemental Nations. The Elemental Nations was the biggest empire in the world. Yet, for all of that, it hardly ever rained where Naruto lived. Yet today, like some kind of divine joke, it started to rain in the village hidden in the leaves, the driest city in the Land of Fire. The Land of Fire was the driest country in the Elemental Nations, and so on. Naruto found himself where he usually did whenever something happened that was beyond his control. He was alone beneath a tree watching the rain slide down the leaves above him on down to the ground. This tree was on the outskirts of the city, but not quite outside of its boundaries. It sat on a tall hill just far enough away from the buildings that Naruto could see over pretty much the entire village. The academy, which was pretty close to the monument, was a sight he avoided. The monument, however, was not. It was a large, overbearing quartet of faces that overlooked the village. Born into the cliff that the village was situated under, it sported the stern faces of the 4 previous Hokage. Naruto liked the 4th Hokage the best. He looked like a hero. Would Kibun be up there one day, too? Naruto shrugged. The Hokage were none of his business. It's not like they had any real bearing on his life. Instead, Naruto let his eyes rove over the various buildings in the village. Some were tall, like the Hokage Tower that dominated the center of the town. Others were small, like the post office where all the carrier doves flew, or the weapons shop that allowed him to take home some shuriken to practice with. The girl there, her name was Tenten, had really pretty hair. She always smiled at him when he came in and sometimes gave him candy. Naruto loved going there, but with Tenten going to the academy too, he never had enough time to spend with her. Her father obliged when he could, but he had a shop to run, so Naruto made sure not to disturb them too often. No, the favorite small shop that the young blonde liked to visit was definitely the ramen shop. Naruto couldn't pronounce the name of the shop yet, but he knew where to find it in the village. Even though it was small, maybe the smallest of all the buildings in the village, it gave off this warmth that was hard to replace. The owners were these 2 nice people, a father and daughter. Whenever he went there they would smile at him and give him food. Sometimes it would be all that he ate. Naruto had wanted to go there to eat after school. He had wandered too much, however, and by the time that he realized that he was near the edge of the village it had started to rain. He couldn't run through the rain, not without getting absolutely wet. He didn't have a dryer, so he would be wet all night. He didn't want to catch a cold. Naruto held out a hand into the rain. The droplets fell onto his fingertips hard and fast. It didn't rain often in the village hidden in the leaves, but when it did, it rained hard. It had been raining for almost an hour now, and it didn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. Naruto would miss the ramen shop today. He would have to eat tomorrow. With a sigh, the young blonde boy sat with his back against the tree. His stomach growled at him, but he closed his eyes and drowned out his hunger with the rhythmic pitter-patter of the rain. It worked, well, almost worked, and for a while Naruto thought that he could sleep there. Then a voice called out to him. "You're a pathetic runt," the voice said. It was deep, but oddly smooth. The baritone voice wasn't particularly loud, but it drowned out the din of the rain. "I was hoping that you would be more impressive by the time that I woke up. I can't say I'm particularly disappointed. You humans never live up to expectations." Naruto, rather than be offended, simply tilted his head. He looked around himself, head darting left and right in order to find the person speaking to him. He saw no one under the tree but him, so he started looking over the village again. "You're not going to find me," the voice said. Naruto looked around again. "I just said that you won't find me." Rather than keep looking around, Naruto shrugged and sat back down. "You go along with the flow too often, child," the voice said. "I was expecting some resistance. Your kind is typically confrontational." Naruto shrugged again. He started to play with the dirt under his sandals. "No one else is here. You can talk." "Done wanna," Naruto finally responded. Naruto wasn't sure how, but he could feel the voice's glee. "Oh, so you can talk. Why don't you wanna?" Naruto, instead of responding again, just shrugged his shoulders. "Killjoy," the voice mumbled. "You'll talk to me eventually." "Maybe," Naruto responded. He waited for a bit, but whoever it was that was talking to him wasn't talking anymore. Had he gone away? Probably. He seemed eager to talk to Naruto, but he wasn't Aiko, which meant that he was only pretending to like him. Naruto hated those kinds of people the most. With a sigh, Naruto stood up and walked out into the rain. It was still pouring hard, but staying here wasn't going to solve anything either. If he ran fast enough, maybe he could get back to his apartment. Overhead, lightning lit up the sky. When it rained in the hidden leaf, it was a solemn affair. Too used to the dry conditions, the people of Fire Country usually didn't have emergency conditions for a sudden downpour. As such, the streets were now empty. All of the citizens of the Hidden Leaf were now sequestered away inside some house or store and waiting out the storm. Everyone, of course, except for Naruto. The blonde boy was walking rapidly through the streets. His orange shirt was soaked through, and so was his pants. His sandals made a plop 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 sound as he rushed onward past roads and roads. His normally spiky hair was now matted down onto his head, and every inch of his body glistened from rainwater. Naruto's face was deadpan. It was usually deadpan, but now it showed just a bit of discomfort. "Stupid rain," Naruto mumbled. A barking sound echoed in his ears. "Tell me about it." Like each time the voice had done so before, Naruto ignored the voice's provocation. He wasn't sure where exactly the voice was to be able to be heard so clearly in this rain on this empty street, but he would ignore it. It would go away eventually. "I'm not going anywhere, brat. Even if I could, you're the only brat in this hellhole worth talking to." Naruto decided to ignore the voice. Turning a corner, the boy saw his apartment building up ahead. Finding renewed energy, the boy ran the last couple yards to his front door. He took the stairs 2 at a time, before darting down the hall. When he came to his door, he pulled out his keys and fumbled with the lock. After a bit of fumbling, Naruto realized that his key wasn't fitting. Very faintly, both through walls and over the patter of the rain, the sound of his grouchy landlord cackling could be heard. She had changed his locks once more, and he would have to wait until the rain let up before he would even try to brave the way all the way to the Hokage Tower. He was dripping rainwater onto the walkway floors. It was an outside walkway too, so it was cold too. Bracing his back against the door, Naruto felt himself get sleepy. "Brat, don't go to sleep," the voice said. Naruto wanted to look for it, he did, but he was just so tired. Maybe he could just close his eyes for a second? "Brat," the voice continued. It sounded like it was panicking. "I just told you not to go to sleep. You were out in the rain too long. Can't you feel yourself shivering?" He couldn't. Actually, he couldn't feel anything at all. Except sleepy. He felt extremely sleepy. Against his will his eyes began to droop. "Brat," the voice yelled. "Keep your damn eyes open." Naruto didn't respond, not even with his thoughts. His eyes drifted closed, and he felt the tranquility of sleep wash over his body. Then he felt blinding, overwhelming pain. Naruto screamed as something akin to lava bubbled all over his skin. "I told you to stay awake, brat," the voice said. "Look what you made me do." Naruto could indeed look at what was happening. Some weird, red liquid was bubbling out of his skin. It looked like a combination of some kind of jelly and water. It bubbled every so often, and every inch of it that touched him both burned and stung him. "Force it down, boy," the voice yelled. Naruto didn't know who it was, but he seemed concerned. Wasn't he the one to do this to him? "Don't question things. Just force the chakra back down." "So that's what this is? Chakra? Wasn't chakra supposed to be warm and comforting? This chakra felt unbearably hot and painful." "Listen, brat, if you don't stop questioning things you're going to die. Just ignore the pain and push the chakra back." Ignore the pain? He was 10 years old. "I don't care. Push it back. You can do it." It hurt. Not as much as it's going to hurt when you die. Did things still hurt after death? I don't know. Maybe? "Stop distracting me and push." Naruto screamed. The red chakra was peeling away at his skin. "Okay," the voice pleaded. "Maybe you don't know how to push chakra. I understand. This is your first time experiencing chakra. That's not your fault. I'm going to try something, okay? I want you to pay close attention." Naruto screamed once more. There was a bestial quality to it. "Okay, maybe try to do it through the pain." Naruto grit his teeth. The pain had by now spread over almost his entire body. It stretched over his entire body like a second skin, and soon he was expecting the lava-like chakra to engulf his head as well. Just as it reached his neck, however, it stopped. "Kid," the voice gasped. It sounded to be in immense concentration. "Do you feel that? Do you feel what's happening to the chakra?" Naruto nodded. His throat was raspy from the screaming. "I'm pulling it. I don't have time to explain, but that chakra belongs inside of you." The voice then hesitated. "With me." The chakra belonged inside of him. "Wait, the voice was inside of him? Do you feel me pulling the chakra back in?" Naruto nodded. "I can't pull it back on my own. I'm going to need your help." Naruto nodded again. He could feel the chakra pulling, and he tried to apply the sensation, but in reverse. "That's it," the voice cooed. "I can feel the pull getting easier. Keep it up." Naruto took a deep breath, then tried to latch onto the ethereal feeling of pain. Mentally he tried to will the pain down deeper, to a place under his skin. At first it was difficult, incomprehensibly so, but as he pushed it got easier. "That's it, boy. Keep it up." Naruto did. He pushed and pushed, until he was sure that his mind was giving out. After a while the pain subsided, and Naruto reluctantly opened his eyes. The lava chakra was gone, and instead he was left with slightly burnt skin. "That was interesting," the voice said. Are you okay? Naruto shook his head. At least you're warm now. Naruto nodded. Is that all I'm going to get out of you? Naruto shrugged. The voice laughed. I'll take it. For now, sleep. I'll make sure that you stay warm. Naruto nodded. His eyes slowly closed, willingly this time, and for the first time in a while the boy felt calm going to sleep. After a few minutes passed, the landlady unbolted her door and peeked out. The screaming that she heard chilled her to her bones, and as curious as she was, she could not move. Frozen to her chair, the landlady waited until the screaming ended. She waited for 10 minutes. Now that it was over, the lady snuck out to where she imagined the source to be, only to find the scourge of her life. That blonde brat was sleeping outside his door. From the looks of it, his skin was burned and charred in places. Was that why he was screaming? Because someone had burned him? Good-for-nothing runt, the woman grunted. She reached down to him, only for a bubbly red substance to jump out of the boy's skin and burn her. She recoiled, and almost made to scream, before she realized that the red stuff wasn't attacking her. It was protecting the boy. The woman, old by anyone's standards, looked at the boy with a soft eye. We did this to you, didn't we? She reached down once more only to see the bubbly red substance swipe at her. We pushed you to rely on the demon. I am sorry, child. The lady made her way around the boy, careful not to disturb him in any way. Upon reaching his door, she pulled out the newly made key from her robe pocket and unlocked the door. After pushing it open, the lady turned to look at Naruto again. You're just a boy. Or a demon. You could be either for all I know. Naruto hadn't responded, but the chakra that surrounded him receded just a bit. I don't know, the woman sighed. But for the sake of my humanity I'm going to trust that you're a boy, just this once. She reached down to pick up Naruto once more and, reluctantly, the red substance let her. Struggling only a little, the old lady carried Naruto inside and dropped him on the ratty old sofa in his living room. She put the key on his kitchen counter on the way out, and stopped at the open door. I don't trust you, demon, the old landlady said. You killed a whole bunch of my friends. She then looked down at her leg. Even now she walked on it with a limp. You took away my ninja career. The lady then looked back at the sleeping blonde boy. And now you're taking the life of an innocent boy. Or what used to be a boy. I don't know. But I'm going to give you a chance. The old lady then slowly closed the door. Please don't make me regret my decision. The sleeping Naruto didn't answer, but the bubbly red chakra fully receded back into his body. Naruto awoke with a start. He was inside his apartment again. Are you awake, child? Naruto didn't respond. Instead, he got up and stretched. Last he remembered he was locked out of his house again. So we're doing the silent game again? That's fine. You were under a lot of stress last night, I understand. The voice then yawned. Your new key is over there, by their way. Naruto, somehow knowing where the voice was indicating, looked over to his kitchen counter and saw his new key sitting there. She delivered it last night after carrying you in here. The voice then went silent. She seems to think that I am you. Who are you? Naruto finally asked. The voice was silent. It seemed to be thinking. Naruto didn't know how he knew that. She seemed to think that you are a monster that attacked the village 10 years ago. Naruto tilted his head. Something attacked the village 10 years ago? Not drawing any answers, he walked into the kitchen. He pulled out the milk container and started drinking. The voice grumbled. She seemed to think that you were the nine-tailed fox. Naruto nodded. Everyone thought he was a monster. The blonde boy spit milk all over his floor. You're the nine-tailed fox. Naruto screamed. So you can speak, the fox yelled back. I was starting to think that you were a mute. You're the nine-tailed fox. Naruto repeated. The fox scoffed. Yes, I'm the fox. Are you done, yet? Naruto nodded. He hardly ever screamed, so doing so twice was enough to calm him down. Good. Now let's get down to business. Naruto tilted his head. We're going training. That last time was a full-power chakra cloak, and we couldn't handle that. But because we went into using my chakra so fast, you are now more susceptible to it. I can even manifest a bit of it outside of your body now. To prove its point, a tendril of chakra snaked out of Naruto's stomach. It waved at him before going back in. I can control that one, though. It won't hurt you unless you piss me off. Naruto made a note to never piss the fox off. I can control that much, but if you pull on the chakra, even unconsciously, I won't be able to stop all of it from harming you from the seal. Naruto coughed. I'm sealed inside of you. Naruto's eyes widened. You are a creepy, expressionless little boy. You know that, right? Naruto nodded. Oh well. We have to prevent you from harming yourself if you accidentally pull on my power again. You can't even call on your own chakra yet. Naruto nodded. The fox made sense. We leave to train now. Naruto looked at his clock. It was stupid o'clock in the morning. Naruto shook his head rapidly. Let's get going. A tendril of chakra burst out of Naruto's back and whipped him. Naruto squealed. Go! Naruto darted out the door. He grabbed his new ki as an afterthought and scrambled out to the forest. We're going to start with 100 sit-ups, 100 pull-ups, 100 squats, and 100 kilometers of running. We'll increase it as you get better. Naruto groaned. This was going to be a long week. Week? This is going on until you can handle my chakra. Maybe afterwards. Now move. The fox then whipped him again for emphasis. Naruto started running even faster. He ran past the landlady's door at speed. The old woman looked out her window. Shitty brat, the woman grunted. Regardless, she had a smile on her face as she closed her door. Little did anyone know that this was going to be the start of a reluctant legend. Naruto plopped down in his chair. The academy was never a favorite spot of his, and the seats were by far his least favorite part of it. They were so damn uncomfortable. You spend your days training non-stop in a forest and sleeping on rocks, yet a chair discomforts you, the voice in his head, the nine-tailed fox, asked. Naruto nodded, though his head was still lying on the table. You're still a creepy little shit. Naruto nodded again. As per usual, Naruto was the first to arrive to class, though it was not for any particular reason. After training out in the various training grounds located all over the Hidden Leaf, he would fall asleep rather late and wake up rather early. There wasn't much to do other than clean up and head to school. Could you at least endeavor yourself to remember their names this time? The fox asked. Naruto shook his head. This was actually Naruto's second year since he met the fox. He had failed the academy once more during that time. The third Hokage had managed to convince the teachers to give him one more try. Turns out that simply not showing up for class wasn't a good enough reason to bar him entry to being a ninja. The third Hokage made him promise to show up to class this time. Naruto couldn't bring himself to deny the man. You spent all of last year training. You're more than strong enough now to take care of yourself. Maybe you should focus on making friends. Naruto lifted his head. The classroom was still empty, so the blonde boy had no problems with voicing his opinion. You're a giant beast of pure malevolence. Why do you care if I make friends or not? The fox grunted. It'd be an interesting change of pace. I'd like to see you squirm as you struggle to do the one thing that has always evaded you, successfully socializing with another human being. Naruto shrugged. The kids here are all so boring. How do you know that? The fox asked. You haven't even met them yet. I met the kids last year, Naruto stated. They were super boring. Well, they might not be as bad this year. Just give them a chance. No, Naruto said. He started to pout. There are only two kinds of people in this world, those who hate you, and those who pretend that they don't. Naruto then hesitated. And Aiko. Every time you say that line, you mention this Aiko person. Who is she? The fox asked. None of your business, Naruto responded. He put his head down. The fox scoffed. Whenever the boy got like this, he would stop talking altogether. If it makes you feel any better, the fox started, I'm only a part of the group that hates you. Naruto, despite his best efforts, smiled. The first student strolled in only a half hour after Naruto did. They were still a half hour early for class. Naruto sat in a corner of the room at the back of the class. He was next to a window, so he could enjoy being as far away from public attention as possible. The person chose the seat farthest away from him while still being near the back of the class. After choosing their seat, the person immediately followed suit and plopped their head down on the desk. Naruto recognized this person. Too bad it didn't matter. Shikamaru Nara fell asleep almost as soon as his head hit the table. I remember the Naras. They're cheeky little shits. In the olden days of the clan wars, the Naras were hired almost as much as the Senju and those other people. Naruto knew that the fox meant the Uchiha. He also knew that the fox hated the Uchiha. They're smart little bugs. Maybe you should be his friend? Immediately after the nine-tailed fox said that, Shikamaru started to snore. Or maybe not. 5 minutes or so afterwards the next student strolled in. He was chubbier than most other students that Naruto saw, and thus singled out the only family the kid could have come from. An Akimichi. You had one last year. They're a jolly bunch. True to form, the Akimichi waved at Naruto before sitting down next to Shikamaru. The boy attempted to rouse his sleeping friend to no avail. He then shrugged, opened a bag of chips, and started eating. Apparently, this was the status quo. I'll consider it, Naruto whispered. The fox grunted. The next person to arrive showed up only minutes after the rotund boy. He had charcoal black hair and, no. You are not making friends with that boy. No making friends with Sasuke Uchiha. No problems there. The next person to enter had arrived with an escort. The escort bowed as the small girl entered the room and watched her like a hawk until the girl had sat down near the back. Both escort and girl had pale eyes and long, silky hair. A Hyuga. They're not too bad. They're arrogant, Naruto whispered. He had to do so lower than usual. The girl wasn't that far away from him. This one doesn't seem so, the fox responded. I can feel it. She's kind. Naruto wasn't sure how the fox sensed emotion of all things, but he did. He decided not to question it. I'll consider it, Naruto whispered. The fox nodded his head. The next person to burst through the door was a sight for sore eyes. Naruto. You fox-smelling bastard. Get over here. Naruto immediately climbed onto his desk and darted away. Get back here, you mutt. Kiba Inuzuka yelled. He chased Naruto with a smile on his face. I don't know why you associate yourself with dogs, the fox said with a yawn. They're so uncultured. He reminds me of Kiban. Dear gods, the fox said in mock horror. There are more of them? Eventually other students filed in while Naruto was evading Kiba's good-natured chase. The fox didn't comment on them, so Naruto paid no attention to them. One of such students was a boy called Shino Aburame. Naruto made sure not to disturb him as he fled from Kiba. They had a moment of eye contact, even through the boy's shades, as he ran from the dog boy. A slight, almost imperceptible nod came from the boy. Naruto nodded back. That was all there was to say about that. Eventually, however, the academy doors burst open one last time and two girls came barreling in at each other's necks. They seemed to be fighting over something. They were not as strong as either Naruto or Kiba. "Hey!" the girls yelled. They were on the ground now. Naruto had managed to dodge around them, but Kiba decided to barrel right through them. "Watch where you're going." Kiba turned around with a scowl. He said. "If you can't take the heat, maybe you should be the ones to get out of the way." One of the two girls, a green-eyed one with pink hair, shot to her feet and advanced on Kiba. She looked confrontational, so Naruto was prepared to step in. Kiba wasn't really a friend, but he was fun to mess with. He approached the girl from behind the dog boy and was ready to fight and, "Stop, boy. Do you think she could survive an interaction with you?" Naruto decided that he didn't care. "I said, stop. There is no need." Once again right, the fox snickered as the other girl, a platinum blonde, laid her hand on the pink-haired girl's shoulder. "Don't waste your energy on these two idiots. They were probably raised with no sense in their heads." Naruto wasn't raised by anyone at all, so he didn't particularly care what the girl said. Kiba, however, snarled. He growled just like Kiban did. "You take that back, you damn Yamanaka." A blasé answer for a blasé ninja, the platinum blonde girl responded. "I shouldn't expect much more from an Inuzuka." Naruto could hear Kiba's growls escalate, and if he knew anything about an Inuzuka, then that meant that Kiba was preparing to go into a frenzy. Naruto didn't particularly care about the dog boy or the Yamanaka, but not doing anything about this was probably going to cause a headache later on. Walking forward, Naruto did the same to Kiba that the Yamanaka did to her hot-headed friend. He placed a hand on Kiba's shoulder. For some reason Kiba stiffened, then calmed down. "Naruto, what?" the Inuzuka asked. "What do you want?" Naruto shook his head. "Calm down." "Ooh, brat," the fox cut in excitedly. Only Naruto could hear it. "Say this." Naruto, unsure as to why, repeated what the fox said. "They're not worth your time. Their heads are all messed up from messing with other people's heads." Now that elicited a reaction. "Why, you." The Yamanaka snarled. She stalked forward, only to be held back by her pink-haired friend in a weird role reversal. Kiba, on the other hand, was delighted. "You know what, bro? You're absolutely right. You know that my aunt says that all the time?" Kiba then put his arm around the boy. "I knew that cousin Kiban was right about you. I could just tell you would be a good friend." So Kiban really did send his cousin to look after him. That was nice, Naruto guessed. The Yamanaka, after visibly forcing herself to calm down, pushed her pink-haired friend off of her. "Whatever," she grunted. "Subpar boys like you can have each other. I'm going to hang out with someone cool." She then stalked off, her pink-haired friend in tow. They claimed seats on either side of the Uchiha, much to said boy's annoyance. Kiba, instead, dragged Naruto back to his seat in the back of the class. Naruto, not one to be confrontational, simply nodded. He looked down to the suffering Uchiha however. The boy seemed to be distressed. He was trying his best to ignore the two girls squealing in his ears, but to apparently no avail. "Kid, no. I know what you're thinking. I can't leave him alone," Naruto said. Kiba, with his impressive hearing, heard the boy. He followed Naruto's gaze. "The kid? Why not? He's a stuck-up Uchiha. The insufferable dog is right," the fox howled. "He's a useless, stupid, annoying, manipulative Uchiha. Naruto shrugged off their concerns, as well as Kiba's arm, and made his way down to where the girls were squabbling. The Yamanaka immediately glared at him. Naruto ignored it. Now, Naruto didn't particularly care about anyone. Besides Tenten, who graduated last year, and the ramen shop people, there wasn't anyone in his life anymore that could garner his attention. That didn't mean that the boy didn't feel sympathy, though. He knew about what happened to the Uchiha boy's entire family. He knew that the boy was an orphan like himself. He knew that the boy just wanted to be left alone sometimes. From the way that Sasuke looked at him, Sasuke knew that Naruto knew that pain as well. With pleading eyes the Uchiha begged for an escape, of any kind, from the rabid fangirls around him. And so Naruto obliged. Sasuke wished that he hadn't. The Uchiha's charcoal black eyes widened as he felt the Uzumaki's lips crash into his own. To say it was a kiss would be a gross exaggeration. This was the blonde boy attacking his lips with his own. It was terrible on every account. And yet the two girls were shocked into silence. Their shock allowed Naruto to drag the Uchiha away from his seat and to where Kiba and he were sitting in the back of the room. And that's how Sasuke Uchiha ended up sitting in the back of the room with the delinquent boys. Even as the entire room watched in shock along with Sasuke, Kiba would not stop laughing. Naruto just kept his head down and went back to sleep. You know, kid, the fox started. 98-99. I wasn't serious when I said that we'd start off with 100 push-ups, sit-ups, and kilometers to run. I figured that we'd go slow. Start at maybe 10. Work our way up to 100 every day. 100, Naruto chanted. Pushing up from his 100th push-up, Naruto started to limber up for his run. You can stop this. You didn't have to do it literally every day. Naruto took off for a run. Fucking humans. Why is the bastard still sitting back here with us? Kiba asked. He sat in the third seat in the row, the one next to the aisle. Sasuke was sitting in the seat in the middle, and currently trying to get Naruto to switch with for the window seat. He wasn't making any progress. For once, I agree with the dog, Ino grunted. She sat in the row directly in front of them, looking exactly as disgruntled as she sounded. For once, the Kyuubi growled. I agree with the humans. Why is the bastard still sitting back here with us? Naruto, who was trying his best to ignore everyone around him, finally lifted his head from the desk. Sasuke took this moment to pounce on him. Finally, you're up. Let's switch seats. Naruto stared at the boy. A full minute passed without the boy either saying anything or blinking. Most were unnerved. Sasuke was not. I am an Uchiha. We invented that look. So you can either pay me back for that kiss you stole or we can have an impassive stare-off. Naruto didn't respond. He just kept staring. Sasuke, used to such things, impassively stared back. No one interrupted them. Not even Irika. They continued for the whole day. Brat, Kyuubi groaned. That's a rock. Naruto nodded. Up, down. No, better yet, that's a boulder. You realize you're lifting a boulder? Naruto nodded again. Up, down. Brat, that's not even part of your training routine. Why are you lifting a boulder? Naruto nodded. It didn't answer the Nine-Tails question. The fox pretended that it did. At least find a bigger one. Naruto nodded. He threw the boulder off him and jumped up in search of a bigger one. The rock went up, up, up. When it finally came back down it created a crater. Seriously, Kiba grunted. It was physical fitness day and Irika was forcing them through some vigorous drills. They were currently on sit-ups. It wasn't Kiba's strong suit. Why is the bastard still hanging with us? Naruto didn't answer. He was belting through sit-ups several times faster than everyone else. In truth, he was done a while ago, but Irika couldn't find it in himself to stop the boy. I find it, Ino said around gasps of breath. She was still on the push-up portion of the exercise and didn't seem to be finishing any time soon. Disturbing that we agree so often, Inuzuka. Sakura was even further behind than Ino. She was still on her stretches. Irika wondered how that was possible. Sasuke, who was desperately trying to keep up with Naruto, was panting as well. The blonde bastard needs to pay me back. Sasuke then collapsed back onto the ground. He wasn't near completing even half of what Naruto had. Until he does, he's going to ward off the fangirls. Well, you are going to ward off fangirls, mutt. You keep hanging out with him, though, so he's paying me back through you. Kiba bristled and glared at Sasuke at the end of every sit-up. Then how is he going to pay me back for hanging out with you? Through me, Ino panted. She switched over to sit-ups, but then considered the effort and decided to take a break. The instant he stops hanging out with you and Sasuke, I'm taking that third spot. I thought you hated me, Kiba asked. I do, Ino responded, but Sasuke's coolness outweighs how much you suck. The three ninja fell into a silence. They were in awe of the rock-paper-scissors dynamic that they had somehow naturally fallen into. The silence was broken only by Naruto's now jackhammer speed as he started his squats, and Shikamaru's snoring as he slept just out of view of the teachers. He was behind even Sakura. Naruto had completed his 37th run around the Hidden Leaf Village. It was 5 in the morning. Not a bad start to the day. Yash, a youthful voice, called out behind him. Naruto ignored it. Your youthful spirit is invigorating, young Naruto. The green beast of the hidden leaf ran up to Naruto and lifted him in the air. The man was wearing an all-green jumpsuit that hugged every perfectly sculpted muscle in his body. Naruto thought he looked cool. The Nine Tails gagged. I did not invest so much time and effort into you just for you to disappoint me like this. You are not wearing that monstrosity. Naruto considered asking for a leotard. Damn it boy, you are not wearing that. Naruto snickered. Insufferable human. I have seen you bearing your youth around the outskirts of the village and I am impressed, young Naruto, the green beat, might guy, yelled. Naruto wasn't entirely sure why, but that sentence seemed dirty. If I cannot match your youth, then I will do 1,000 push-ups with boulders attached to my legs. Naruto gasped. That actually didn't sound like too bad of an idea. Human, no. Sasuke smirked. It was a wicked smile, born of literally months of trying to prove himself. Finally, I have something that I can beat you in. In the Uchiha's hand was a throwing knife. The boy tossed it in the air, letting it flip blade over handle, before catching it and doing it again. Naruto shrugged. He picked up the dull throwing knife that was placed before him and looked at the target dummy. It was a crude straw man with a target over its torso. With a shrug, Naruto flicked his wrist. His knife fell short halfway to the dummy. Sasuke's smirk widened. Ha! You throw it like this. Sasuke then flicked his wrist much harder. The knife flew straight and true, before embedding itself dead center of the target. Sasuke turned, wide-eyed and victorious, to his blonde rival. See? Impressed? Naruto shrugged. After months of hanging out with the boy, Sasuke translated the action as a resounding yes. Sasuke was understandably ecstatic. Irika, however, was not. Naruto, I know that you have never been particularly good at aiming, but you need to at least put a little bit of effort into this. Irika then walked up to Naruto. He put a hand on the boy's shoulder. From your physical reports alone, I know that you at least make it to the dummy. Can you do that for me, Naruto? I believe that you can. Naruto looked at Irika. His gaze, impassive and long, showed nothing of what the boy was thinking. Regardless, he took the knife that his teacher was handing him and inspected it. It was dull, just like every other knife they had. Slowly, Naruto stepped up to the starting line. "Boy," the fox grumbled. "Think very carefully about what you're about to do." Naruto shrugged. How bad could it be? Taking aim, Naruto tried his second chance at throwing the knife. He put minimal effort into it, and the knife flew on a straight path. It missed the target completely, instead hitting the edge of the dummy's head. Sasuke laughed. "Is that the B-?" The knife had kept going. It pierced the stone wall behind the dummy that circled the school. The wall was obliterated as the knife just kept going, eventually going on to pierce through the trees surrounding the schoolyard and then leaving line of sight. The students in attendance gaped. "What? We gotta go," the fox yelped. "I gotta go," Naruto yelled. Actually putting effort into his stride, the boy disappeared from the schoolyard. The ground where he was standing was cracked. Naruto kicked his legs. They dangled over the edge of the branch he was currently sitting on. He looked downwards, towards the ground, as he contemplated things. "I told you to be careful," the fox said. Naruto nodded. For a while, silence reigned. Naruto swung his feet, and the leaves were blown on the wind. "You have gotten stronger. Much, much stronger than you used to be." "You know that?" the fox asked. Naruto once more nodded. So, the fox started. He hesitated on his words. "You know what happened today, right?" Naruto nodded. "You are strong, Naruto. Far stronger than you were." And you're stronger than they are, too." "Well, most of them, anyway." Naruto nodded. "You don't like that, do you?" Naruto shook his head. "I'm not apologizing. You needed to get stronger in order to handle my power. You needed to get stronger in order to handle what's coming for you." Naruto grunted. "What?" The fox's ears twitched, not that Naruto could tell. What do you need that for?" "To get stronger." "Why do you want me stronger?" The fox grumbled. "I told you, so that you could handle my power. Or did you forget about this?" A tendril of red chakra snaked out of Naruto's belly. Naruto stared at it for a bit, before reaching out with his left hand and grabbing it. The tendril froze in his hands, as if cowed, and Naruto squeezed it tight. "I am strong," Naruto said. His voice was low, like he wasn't used to using it. "I was strong a year ago. Still you want stronger. Why?" The fox was quiet for a moment. He waited a moment longer before answering. "Because you need to be. There are things out there that are stronger than you could possibly imagine. You need my power if you want to handle it. I have your pow dash, you need more of it. Lots more of it. If you want to use it properly, then you need to be a lot stronger than you are now. Do you understand?" Naruto nodded. "Good. Now, next on the Lee dash, what?" "Pardon? What is it that you want me to handle?" The fox mused. "That is a question for another time." "No," Naruto said. "There was force behind it. No other time. Now. I didn't ask questions for 2 years. I just want the answer now." The fox was quiet once more. Several minutes passed while the two sat in the same tree that Naruto had under those 2 years ago. Seeing nothing else to do, Naruto started kicking his legs once more. "Brat. To the ground, for me." Naruto nodded. He jumped down to the ground and made his way over to the soft dirt. The tendril in his hand burst out and started drawing in the dirt. "Do you remember your history class, brat?" Naruto shook his head. The fox snorted. Well, remember this one. Tell me. In the dirt the tendril had drawn a wide circle. Inside of it were two more concentric circles centered by a dot. What do you know of a Madara Uchiha? School was not a normal day for Naruto anymore. It won't be that bad, the fox grumbled. Just walk in, sit down, and ignore everyone like you usually do. Piece of cake. Naruto nodded. He would ignore everyone and maybe the problem at hand, namely his performance yesterday, and maybe everything would go back to normal. With renewed confidence the blonde boy opened the door to his classroom. He took one step in. Foxy, where have you been? Uzumaki? You have returned. Naruto. What was that yesterday? Dobe. You didn't tell me that you could do that. I still hit the target though. Don't forget that. At the front of the class the Hokage, who was talking to Irika, turned around and raised an eyebrow. Naruto promptly took that step back outside and closed the door. Okay kid, I was wrong. Not a piece of cake. If we start running now we can probably get away. Naruto nodded. With a burst of strength the boy was already zooming away. Unknown to him the Hokage, a man unrivaled even amongst his peers, had thought of that. The aged leader snapped his fingers and another burst of strength echoed from the schoolyard. Naruto was familiar with this level of youth. Young Naruto. If I cannot catch up to you and subdue you then I will do 500 laps around Konoha on my... Naruto ignored the rest of it in favor of focusing on running. He didn't think that Might Guy could catch him going at top speed, but then again the green beast of the hidden leaf had a habit of breaking expectations. The man had finished the rest of Naruto's laps around the village with him, after all. Hitting the ground with as little force as possible, the fox boy blurred away. The local area had a small earthquake. Might Guy, seeing it as a challenge, followed suit. The local area decided that maybe living in a ninja village wasn't so novel. It turns out that, yes, Might Guy could catch him going at top speed. You need to up your training. Naruto shook his head. No amount of training would remedy whatever hellish regimen that crazy man undertook. Naruto, the third Hokage said. The man, old by anyone's standards, gave off a genial, fatherly feel. All of the younger generation of ninja, and even some civilians, couldn't help but feel at ease when talking to the senior ninja. All of the older ninjas knew that he was a senior ninja for a reason. You didn't survive until you had wrinkles in this profession unless you were doing something horrifically right. Hiruzen Sarutobi was good at what he did. Terrifyingly good. So good that when the village was left leaderless after the death of the fourth Hokage, the best candidate to take over was the wrinkly old man trying to eat his pudding in the senior home. No, older ninjas knew of the power resting just underneath the Hokage's robes and rightfully feared it. It was an enormous, primal power that anyone worth their salt could feel instinctively. Without saying a word the Hokage could intimidate anyone worth intimidating. Naruto sat in front of such an existence feeling simply disgruntled. Did you have fun today? The old man asked. Naruto shook his head. He would have gotten up and left, but he was tied to a chair. With chains. I see that you had a run around the village, the Hokage continued. Was it refreshing? It was, actually, so Naruto nodded. I'm glad you feel good. The Hokage turned his head. How do you feel, Guy? Might Guy was panting on the floor in the corner of the Hokage's office. After opening 6 gates to catch up with the blonde, Guy had to open a 7th in order to restrain him long enough to tie to a chair. He then had to find another chair because the act of restraining Naruto to a chair broke that chair. Guy? The Hokage asked. The green beast of the hidden leaf raised a hand, seemingly about to say something. Then he collapsed. Unfazed, the third Hokage turned back to his ward. I don't think he enjoyed the run as much. Naruto shook his head. He used a lot of energy to catch up to you. Did he? Naruto stretched what he could while being chained to a chair and felt relatively fine. He wasn't even out of breath anymore. Would you mind explaining to me why one of the best ninjas in my employ had to pull out virtually every stop in order to catch you? Naruto shrugged. I figured as much. The Hokage then rubbed his temple. With a sigh that belied the weariness of ages long outstripping anything Naruto could comprehend, the Hokage took off his hat. Now, this was a sobering experience for the young boy. Very rarely was the third Hokage seen without his hat. The red and white triangular adornment was never seen off the man's head outside of funerals, and the red and white robes of state were basically a part of him. Whatever the reason that the Hokage needed to take off his hat, it was important. Naruto, the old man asked. His eyes drooped, and with it his voice. I know that it has been a while since we last talked. Naruto couldn't remember the last time that they had talked. But you should know that you can come to me for anything. If there are any new developments, or any voices talking to you, you should know that you can trust me. The fox snorted. His voice echoed in Naruto's head like a giant's in a cavern. You can trust the old man like you can trust me. Taking the fox's words to heart, Naruto rapidly shook his head. The third Hokage nodded. I see that you don't want to tell me, the Hokage then stood. But if you do feel like telling me about your life, know that my door is always open to you. Naruto nodded. A quick flex of his arms and the chains binding him snapped like cheap twine. The Hokage's eyes widened for a second, before schooling back into the neutral mask that the old man was known for. Naruto stood and moved to leave. Naruto, the Hokage said. His voice was low, and soft. Please, remember what I said. Naruto nodded as he left. Kakashi, you will keep an eye on the boy. Yes? Pages of a book snapped together. A lazy eye rose to meet the aged leader. Of course, Lord Hokage. Naruto held his pen loosely. The test in front of him made absolutely no sense to him. I told you to pay attention in class. Naruto ignored the fox in his head. Instead, he tried to recall the many things that he zoned out while in Iruka's class over the past year. He failed, the words looked foreign on the page, even though he could read them perfectly. The fox sighed, the action akin to a rushing gale. The answer to the first question is katan. The traditional name for fire techniques is katan. Naruto, not having any other answer, wrote down what the fox told him. The second answer is suetun. That's the traditional name for water techniques. The written test passed in such a way. Iruka stepped back after handing Naruto the throwing knife. The rest of the graduating class, excluding Sasuke, did the same. Try to hit the target this time, idiot, Sasuke said, a wary smirk on his face. Naruto stared at the boy, his face betraying nothing, before readying the knife to be thrown. Fuck it, the fox growled. You're already being watched. There isn't much more to hide. Naruto nodded. He cocked his arm back. His blue eyes never left Sasuke's onyx ones. Wait, idiot. You need to look at the target to aim at. Naruto's arm whipped out, the very action creating a shockwave. The knife left his hands at near supersonic speeds. To be fair, Naruto's knife missed the target, even the dummy, completely. To his credit, however, the force of the impact destroyed everything even remotely in the path of the knife. It was a good thing Naruto was chosen to be the last one tested. There wasn't much left of that half of the courtyard. Naruto, Iruka said, his voice shaky. You have, technically, passed every other test. Mitsuki, Iruka's assistant teacher, nodded dumbly beside the man. He spared a glance outside. The destruction from the knife throw continued over the horizon. You don't technically need to complete this part, as you've shown exemplary performance in all other activities. Mitsuki looked out the window to the rest of the students currently undergoing the taijutsu tests. The silver-haired man looked back to Irika and they shared eye contact for but a second before nodding. Naruto would not be taking part in those. They had to have living students to constitute a graduating class. All we need you to do is perform the standard 3 basic techniques in order to let you go. Or you could not, Mitsuki piped up. You could just go. I could pass you right now and you don't have to do anything else. Irika, who was usually a stickler for rules, almost contradicted his assistant. Then he remembered the pulverized courtyard. The boy had missed. Irika didn't want to see what would happen if he somehow missed the clone technique and blew up the class. Or you could just pass right now, Irika concurred. Just come take your headband. In Naruto's head the fox barked out a laugh. It's like they think you could do damage with such non-lethal techniques. Listen kid, I know that we didn't practice those, but they're laughably easy. Just do whatever and let's get out of here. Naruto nodded. An intangible clone, a transformation and switching with an object. Easy enough. It's not like he could cause damage with any of those. As Naruto prepared his hands into a hand seal, both teachers immediately ducked under their desks. The third Hokage had once more removed his hat and was now massaging his temple. Naruto, the old man said. He dragged out the name before sighing. It was really too long of a day. Naruto, who was once more tied down with chains, nodded. How did you manage to blow up the academy while doing the basic 3 techniques? Naruto shrugged. The third Hokage sighed. He reached into his desk and pulled out a headband. The cloth was a navy blue, with a metal plate with the hidden leaf's insignia etched into it. Just take it. And whatever you did just now, don't do it again. Naruto nodded. He would only do it on enemies. Dismissed. Of course, there weren't many people who wanted to be on Naruto's team when team selection came around. Out of a grand total of 30 students, there were about 4 of them who wanted to be on his team. If you keep hanging out with dogs, you're going to get fleas, the fox grumbled. Naruto ignored his grumpy inner voice about as hard as he tried to ignore Kiba hanging off his shoulders. We're gonna be teammates, aren't we, Naruto? The dog boy barked. In his furry hoodie a little white puppy barked along. Naruto rubbed behind the ears of Kiba's familiar. His name was Akamaru and he was perhaps the only one that Naruto had no problems with. TCH, came a rather snooty voice from the other side of Naruto. Sitting in the window seat was Sasuke Uchiha, and he looked at Kiba like the boy was a disillusioned 3-year-old. Naruto is strong. He's going to be on a strong team, with me. Naruto was tempted to agree, if only just because, you are not going on the same team as an Uchiha. I refuse. It wasn't up to Naruto whose team he was on, but he nodded anyway. The fox was vehement about this. Well, if Sasuke is on your team, I guess that means that I need to be as well, Ino said from the row in front of the 3 boys. Both Kiba and Sasuke flinched at the thought. I like her, the fox said. She would be a good mate. Naruto hoped the fox meant teammate. There's no way that you're going to be on my team, Kiba growled. I don't appreciate smartass. Ino smirked. That doesn't surprise me. You like the dumb ones, don't you Kiba? I bet you have so much in common with them. Kiba growled, but it wasn't as hostile as it used to be. Talk all you want, Ino. I beat you in every spar. Ino rolled her eyes. Well, of course you do. It would take a beast to beat someone like you. Naruto didn't have the heart to point out that most people didn't even try to spar with him anymore. Sasuke, however, didn't have such a problem. I've beaten him, Yamanaka. Am I a beast, too? Ino looked at Sasuke, then raised a perfectly manicured blonde eyebrow. Of course you are. She then pointed to the three boys one at a time. You're all beasts. But I suppose that's charming in its own way. Ino then sniffed the air. Doesn't do much for your sweaty body odor. Sasuke smirked, and surprisingly, so did Kiba. You've become interesting these past few months, Yamanaka. Sasuke said. If you weren't so weak, I'd let you be my friend. I'm your friend whether you like it or not, Ino responded, a similar smirk on her face. Kiba scoffed. Stop flirting in front of me. You're making Naruto and I uncomfortable. Naruto doesn't mind, do you Naruto? Ino asked. Naruto looked at her. Unblinking, his stare pierced right through to her soul, chilling her to her core. Ino looked back to Kiba. See? He doesn't mind. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you were jealous. Does the little Inuzuka want to date his little Yamanaka friend? Kiba, rather than take the bait, simply smirked. I'm going to miss you two bastards. Come see Naruto and me when we're put on the same team. I'm sure we'll have fun beating you silly. Sasuke actually smiled, a real, genuine smile, and continued looking out the window. Yeah, Naruto and I will visit your team eventually. We'll even let you try to catch up if you're too far behind us. Ino, noticing that Irika was done setting up, turned back to the front. I'm not sure why you two think you'll be alone on Naruto's team. I'm getting him and one of you. At this point, I don't care which one it is. I just feel bad for the one left off. And like that, the class went silent as their head teacher, Irika, read off the teams. Sakura, who was sitting next to her best friend, just rolled her eyes. Those four were interesting, but she was glad to be away from their insanity. Team 1, Irika started. Mina. Horimizaki. Hey, Naruto, Kiba whispered. Naruto turned his stare to the dog boy. This is for you. I was told to pass it to you. Naruto nodded. When he took the paper, he quickly unrolled it to reveal a single sentence written in almost neurotically clean handwriting. I hope I'm on your team. Well, that couldn't be anyone else. Naruto leaned forward to look at the class Hyuga. The normally shy girl waved at him. He waved back. Her. I really like her. Naruto nodded. Well, with so many prospective classmates, there was little chance that he would be on absolutely none of their teams. He was on absolutely none of their teams. How? Ino screamed, her hands pounding the table in protest. How is he not on anyone's team? We had exactly the amount of people needed to fill a roster of 3-man teams. How is Naruto not on any of ours? Irika, feeling sheepish, had the decency to meet his students' eyes. We had an emergency addition to our class over the past couple of weeks. He had to fill the roster as well, and it was decided that he would fit a team better than Naruto would. Kiba looked to be on the verge of breaking. His sharp nails gouged lines into the wooden desk, and his teeth ground into each other so hard that others could hear it. There was a low growl emanating from either him or his equally upset puppy, and Naruto couldn't tell which. Naruto has been with us for the whole year. He has better chemistry with us than any new kid possibly could. When did we even get a new kid? Irika directed his attention away from the dog boy to a different corner of the room. Sure enough, in the third seat in the row with Choji and Shikamaru sat another boy. His skin was pale, almost impossibly so, to the point that it was almost as white as snow. Hello, the boy said. He raised his hand and waved it. He attempted to smile, but the action was at best a cheap imitation of a smile. I am Sai. It is nice to meet you. Kiba stared at the boy, his mouth agape and his eyes unfocused. He tried to take in the boy but failed, having gained absolutely no impression whatsoever. Instead, Kiba turned back to the teacher. He raised an arm and gestured at the boy. That. You want that to be on a team over Naruto? You think that we can form any cohesion with an emotionless husk of a child like that? To his credit, Sai didn't react to the insult. Instead, the boy smiled again. The action creeped several of the onlooking students. Irika just tilted his head. You got along with Naruto? The man asked. Like biscuits and gravy, Kiba responded. Then this should be much of the same. Coincidentally, Naruto took this time to acknowledge Sai. The pale boy met Naruto's gaze and the two stared at each other. Neither blinked for a whole minute before, somehow, they both came to some sort of unspoken agreement and turned away. The class shared a collective shudder. Kiba sat down. His eyes were still fierce as he laid his head down, burying his face in his arms as he did so. This isn't over, yet. He grumbled. Now, is everyone done? Irika asked. No one responded. Great. Everyone, you will be staying here waiting for your sensei. Naruto? You will be coming with me. Seeing no reason to resist, the boy stood up and walked towards his teacher. Irika nodded, then opened the classroom door. Sparing one glance over his shoulder, the blonde boy blinked before closing his door on his almost friends. Naruto, the third Hokage said. He had his hands steepled before him as he looked over the boy he was quickly becoming wary of. I'm sure that you are wondering why you are here today. Naruto shrugged. He didn't particularly care why he was here. Not being chained down before the old man was a nice change to the usual routine, though, so Naruto obliged the man. I'm sure that you're confused as to why you weren't placed on a team. The Hokage shouldered through the boy's silence. The third was long used to Naruto's lack of speech. The answer is a bit unorthodox. Even we weren't prepared for the decision. Naruto nodded, showing that he was listening. The Hokage took a deep breath before answering. When he did, his eyes were softer, but no less guilty. You are too strong. I could have told you as much, the fox grumbled. You were able to outpace and even overpower one of my physically strongest ninja. Are you ready to tell me how this came to be? Naruto shook his head. I figured as much, the Hokage sighed. He then reached over and retrieved a small manila file. He thumbed through a few pages before landing on a page and pulling it out. The Hokage made to examine it for a bit, before turning it to Naruto. The page had a picture on it of a destroyed landscape. Have you ever seen this before, Naruto? Naruto looked at the picture and affirmed that he had in fact not seen that place before in his life. Of course not. The Hokage replaced the picture in the folder and sat back in his chair. That is the crater where your most recent attempt at tossing kunai ended. Somewhere, far under the ground, your kunai has most likely shattered on the bedrock. Before this picture was a crater, however, the Hokage leaned forward, his face grim, that was a rather bustling hub for the local wildlife. It was well forested and densely populated. Now it is a crater. The Hokage then reached to remove his hat. As he placed the hat on his oaken desk, he sighed once more. It is a crater that is several miles away from where you threw that knife, with a trail of destruction and disarray leading up to it. Do you have an explanation for that, Naruto? You throw very hard, the fox supplied. I throw very hard, Naruto parroted. The Hokage obviously wasn't accepting that as an answer. Is that all? Did you use a special technique? Any chakra? The Hokage then paused, and then said his next words very carefully. Do you use any special chakra? No, Naruto answered, his voice soft. I used my muscles. No one can throw that hard with just their muscles, the Hokage responded. His wrinkled face seemed to crease even more as he tried to explain what seemed like perfect knowledge to a yet not understanding boy. Naruto tilted his head, apparently lost. The Hokage rubbed his temple. We're putting you on a team by yourself. At Naruto's even more confused face, the old man continued. You are obviously much more powerful than you should be, so we can't place you on any team without upsetting the scales. Instead, we're making it so that you're on a need-to-have basis. Effective immediately, you're essentially a freelance ninja. Naruto nodded. The Hokage knew that he hadn't understood. You're a ninja, okay? The old man recited. But think of it as more of a hobby. You're a hero for hobby, okay? Thanks for watching, hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained. Stay safe.